Michael, the Facebook group on copyright has a lot of impact on how the bill almost got introduced, and then what's your view on how Facebook is going to change not only with copyright but the other legislation, or how do you see it?
Well, I think it's the internet more generally that has the capability of bringing together huge numbers of people in very, very quickly, very inexpensively. And then they have the capability of making their voices heard. So it's not that I'm wedded to Facebook per se, though in Canada I think it's a particularly effective tool for that kind of organizing. But I think as we find whole communities that are largely all connected online, it is going to have a dramatic change, really reshaping our political processes, our ability to consult, their ability to better identify what the public view is on certain issues, and the ability to have that implemented. And so it's having a huge impact. And in some ways I think we'll look back at the Facebook group, the group right now on Bill C-10, and note that those were in some ways just a precursor of a real shift in terms of the public having the ability, the power, and indeed the interest to become more engaged and to really fulfill a lot of the vision I think that people have of what it's to be a participant in a vibrant democracy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you were saying this afternoon, Blogger has more readership than CNN, and in a sense that is us speaking to our government or voicing our opinions on issues directly.
It is. Well, it's speaking to our own communities.
Mm-hmm.
Even the nature of what a community is and the growth of those communities is changing as well. So it's the tools that are now literally on the desktops of millions of people with connectivity that is moving to what we hope will be ubiquity, and certainly is in more and more of the urban areas, less so rural, and we need to address that issue. But as more and more people are online and more people have the computing tools both to create, to speak out, to participate, it can't help but reshape so many of the things that people may have taken for granted.
Mm-hmm. So right now, am I correct to say your blog is one of the main tools that you are using to communicate with the public and share, like of course your columns and stuff like that, but I think you reprint them in your blog.
That's right. Yeah, no, the blog's become both an enjoyable and a terrifically important part of a communication strategy, or a desire to speak out, just as anybody can, and it's developed a large audience, which is great. And it's enjoyable for me and important for me, not just because it gives me the ability to sound off and link to all sorts of interesting articles or give my perspective on different issues, but perhaps even more for the kind of community that has developed around the blog. Mm-hmm. I have to say that if I were even look back a couple of years, there was the odd posting that would generate a bunch of comments, sometimes a large number of comments, but many went uncommented or only a comment or two. And now it's really reversed itself, where many postings generate dozens of comments, sometimes into over 100 comments. And I feel as if the blog is, people are maybe there to see some of the things that I've had to say, but in many ways they're there because a community of interest has sort of come together around this blogging space, one in which people will post their opinions, debate with one another in the comments, and that's I think that's an exciting thing to have, and it shows that you don't necessarily need Facebook. In fact, the accessibility of a blog is much nicer than Facebook.
Mm-hmm. And how do you deal with comments? Do you actually moderate it, or do you
No, people say whatever they want, and there's times where people have said things that are very critical of me, and they often accompany, let's see if he publishes this, and I see them and I read them. I try to read everything. Sometimes it's difficult, but I do my best to read and occasionally respond. And there's things I agree with. There's things that I obviously vehemently agree with, and there's things that sometimes are a bit hurtful. But I guess I feel that in some ways that's just it's par for the course. I guess if you have a blog that's developed a pretty sizable readership, and I really am grateful and for the ability to put out a posting on whatever the issue happens to be, and see what people have to say, often learn from what people are posting. I mean, some of the great ideas and some of my own thinking is really shaped by some of the comments that people make on the blog.
Really? Yeah, that's nice to hear.